Cuban link, QB chain, belonging to MoMA. So boomerang, you salute my 27 summers. Hey yo, Eeze.
Your platform is an alternative to the radio in a sense, right?
Yes.
You use Stationhead. Hip Hop Talks is the name of the show, where
Yes.
a bunch of fans congregate and you can tell a story, you can listen to music, you can have conversations concerning a particular artist. Why is that beneficial for an artist or even the fans?
Thank you for pulling up on some of our shows. Actually, it's beneficial because I kind of have to tell the genesis of it, so you can get the broader scope of why we do what we do, if you don't mind.
Do you think?
It all started with Taj, a while ago. Taj is somebody who's inside of the Nas camp, and she was on Stationhead as the new wave. Like nobody else was really like on it like that. She had a channel that predates Hip Hop Talks called Vibe Check with David Kim, who is the engineer for all the Nas and Hit Boy albums, which Nas shouted him out on 1-800 Nas and Hit. So she kind of turned that platform, into Hip Hop Talks. Not with David Kim, but herself, because she's a workhorse for the Nas camp, but she didn't want to use that that I'm in Nas camp card for like clout. She wanted to build something up grassroots, from the bottom, and grow it organically, right? But at the same time, create a hub for Nas fans where we could support Nas as an artist. So the channel that she started, Hip Hop Talks, is Nas. You can call it Nas centric, but it's not Nas dependent, right? We do other content too, because if we do only Nas, then it's a ceiling on that, right?
Box yourself in, yeah.
Yeah. So we do other content, but she brought in, she wanted a team because she's busy with a lot of day-to-day stuff, and she reps QB, but within the camp, she's busy with a lot of day-to-day stuff. So she brought in someone named Sean, who's also from Queens, Corona, Queens. And Sean has previous experience in podcasting. He had a podcast approximately like 4 years ago, and he didn't do that anymore, and then really took a behind the scenes role with more so writing content, ghostwriting, if you will, content for other podcasts, and she pulled him in and wanted him to be a part of what was going on. And his stipulation was he wanted a collaborator, so they were on the lookout for somebody else to bring in to bounce ideas off of. And, that's the genesis of me coming into play. I'd be remiss if I, didn't shout out, the podcast and the platforms that shed light on me, because, you've had me on your platform on the live calls, highlighted comments. Same thing for According to Hip Hop and Rap Roundtable. So shout out to all of them, because that's where, I got my opinions and thoughts off in chats or whatever. And, they saw me and was like, this dude think he's pretty knowledgeable. I think he can bring something to the table, So they pulled me into the platform. And, that sums up how the team was formed. And we got other people that contribute, shout out to Trife, shout out to Anika, shout out to Ing, they contribute ideas or whatever. And shout out to everybody that, pull up. But basically it's meant to be a hub for the Nas fans that benefits him, right? So it doesn't cost anything to be on Stationhead. Only thing you need is Apple Music or Spotify Premium. And you download the Stationhead app and it connects to your streaming service. Unfortunately, Tidal is not compatible, but we're working on something for Tidal right now as we speak. But when you pull up on one of our Stationhead shows, we blend the conversation with the music. I have to stress, we're not a podcast. That's not what we're doing. And we're not in the podcast space. Not to rule that out or any other platforms, but we wanted to do something where we could marry the music to the conversation and benefit not only Nas, but the artist. Because, for example, if we have, 200 and some people in the room and we're streaming music, that's 250 streams for every song we play for each artist. It counts all these streams cumulatively. So it's very beneficial. And we're getting, between me and Sean, you're getting good conversation, like the same podcast format or a radio show, in between the music, but you're getting the streams to benefit the artists, and you're getting real insider information and accounts. Like I was there, in real time when some of these records were released, and we talk about that feeling when something first came out. And then, what Taj or Sean knows from being close in the camp, they can give insight on certain things from a behind the scenes perspective. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like a lot of those conversations make the show flow, but we marry the music to it, and we like to curate the music around the conversation to dictate telling a story, if you will.
Yes, that's fine. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I've been to a couple of the shows, and it's definitely entertaining, and you can learn a lot as well, because they don't just speak about the artists. They also go into the production aspect, tell their personal experiences attached to the records. And in the chat is live too. So they may read some comments in the chat, stop the music, and have a conversation based on a comment that you may have made.
Absolutely.
And you go down a rabbit hole and find out new things, man. So platform is fire, man. Tell them some shows that you've done in the past.
I mean, it's kind of crazy because we've done a little bit of everything. I mentioned David Kim earlier, right? Mm-hmm. David Kim actually pulled up for an impromptu interview on our show one time. For Nas's 50th birthday, we did a 50 for 50 show is what we called it. Yeah. And it was it was the daunting task of ranking the top 50 Nas songs, but we did it. Ran them down. We did a early show starting earlier in the evening, starting at 50, counting down to 1. And then once we finished the countdown, that bled right into the Magic 3 release. It was 9 p.m. that night, and then we ran Magic 3 straight through and streamed that for the fans that pulled up. And then after that was all over, David Kim pulled up for an impromptu interview, which will probably be coming back sometime soon. So we like to shed light, not only artists, but like you said, on producers and engineers and somebody who was part of the process. Taj had an interview with Jansport J, who, has co-production credits on a few of the Nas and Hit Boys albums. Like most notably, he did the second half of WTF SMH, like on the beat switch. And that second part is Jansport J. He's a dope producer. He has some stuff out there, some instrumental work. Y'all should check him out. We also did, and we've upped the stream since we have like pretty much about 13,000 streams since that Magic show on Nas's birthday. And we do versus matchups. Like I said, it's a little bit of something for everybody. We even do R&B. You know what I mean? We were gearing up for a Jodeci Boys the Men joint, Usher, Chris Brown, track for track. And sometimes we like to do versus matchups with a twist, right? Sometimes we do it impromptu, like a call and response, like, okay, we'll compete within the camp, against each other. So I'm gonna play this joint and you play this joint, or what, back and forth like a typical versus. But we've done other versus matchups where we curated them for the show for the fan to have a unique listening experience, where we tediously match up this song versus that song. And then we want it to flow kind of like a dope playlist or album or what have you. You know what I mean?
So just a quick question. When you say verses, right? When they're pinning albums against each other or competing, you're not going track 1, 1, 2, 2. You may play track 9 off of Magic, and Magic 2, you may play track 3.
Absolutely.
That goes against each other.
Right. So that one was a little bit controversial. I'm not going to lie. Because, because we did one Ready to Die versus It Was Written. And, I wanted to curate that. And then my boy Sean was like, Damn, I don't know. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna ruffle some feathers. And I was like, I don't really care, man. like, let's do it. Like, because for me, I think that we're taught a lot of things in hip hop to be fact. Like, granted, you know, you and me are of the same age. We were there in real time. So some things are just kind of like ingrained in you and it's understood. Like, you know, that Ready to Die is like, you know, a top 5 hip hop album. If somebody asks you which album is better, Ready to Die or It Was Written, you just kind of rattle off Ready to Die or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's just something that's kind of been programmed for you. You know what I mean? But it's some things that we're programmed in school, right? We're taught history a certain way, and then we get older, and then more facts come out, and we like, whoa, like, you know, it changes our lens and perspective on things. So it wasn't really to, you know, try to like rewrite history, as some people might say, or whatever. It was just to kind of look at it from a different lens, you know what I mean? And put those two albums against each other, and the debate might be closer than what you initially thought. It's not trying to sway you and say, okay, you know, Biggie's album wasn't it and It Was Written was better. It's not trying to do that. It's just creating the discourse and the conversation around it. You know, like I say, watching Hoop, you got the eye test. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And listening to music, you got the ear test. So if you hear certain songs side by side with each other, with each other, then you can make a better process decision on, like, man, I didn't know this album went that hard and was better than this one like that. But hearing it side by side, it is. And it's not like an era thing. They were released just 2 years apart, right? You know?
Yeah.
But the thing that made me curate it like I did, and, you know, just cut me off if I'm rambling too long, but I just want to paint the picture. Not, It Was Written as a classic album. I know you know that, but the caveats that comes with it, right? I think Nas is one of the only people where it's like, Stillmatic's a classic, but Braveheart Party though, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? And then It Was Written as like, Black Girl Lost and Nas Is Coming. I don't know. Like, when we talk about other classic albums, we don't do that. Like, the fan bases don't, you know, poke holes in other classics, so to speak, because every classic is not skip free. Let's just put that out there.
Right. And they don't think about the records that's missing either.
Right. And it could be a classic but have some skippable records. So my thought process was, let's curate a matchup, because track by track order is boring, right? You know what I mean? If you was doing Stillmatic versus Blueprint, you wouldn't want Braveheart Party up against Heart of the City or something like that. You know what I mean? So if that's how I fell in the track list. So I'm like, well, let's curate based on the highs on the album and the lows on the album and everything in between. Let's match it up and see how it sounds. So with the Nas Is Coming and Black Girl Lost, who universally people consider the lows of the album, I'm like, let's see how that sounds against Friend of Mine and Respect and, joints like that, and the original One More Chance, like on the album, because for me, those are low points, right?
Yeah.
And the way it panned out, man, it was interesting to see, and music is subjective. Whatever side of the fence you landed on is what you landed on. But, I just wanted to give people a different perspective. I think for a lot of people, it was a shock to their system to hear it like that.
Yeah, because I was listening to it live, and I'm just going to be transparent. It was an absolute slaughter. I'm just going to be. It was when you do it that way.
Spit my water out, bro.
When you do it that way, the way you guys did the highs and the lows and everything in between,
yeah.
Even sonically, it just sounded like two totally different times, like almost 10 years apart, but it was only 2 years, right? Secondly, maybe a year and a half. A lot of people, like you stated, some things are ingrained in us, right?
Correct.
Some people delve in revisionist history. One More Chance, the remix is not on Ready to Die.
Right.
So you make that connection and you put the album probably higher than it should be because you're thinking about the hit record that was attached to it. But that album, that single was not there. So if
remixes,
yeah. So I think a lot of fans probably don't even know that.
Right. Yeah, because once those remixes came out, Bad Boy was out of here. You know what I mean? But they weren't on the album.
Hey, yo, Eeze.